In fact, we're in lounge rooms all around Melbourne as 5 wonderful guests join us tonight for Make It Monthly here in my homemade bedroom in wet and yucky St Kilda. Before we get underway, I acknowledge the people of the Kulin Nations and the other traditional owners of the land around Australia, and I pay my respects to their elders past, present and emerging. My name's Denise Erickson. I'm co-founder of Media Mentors Australia, and along with our brilliant sponsors, AFTRS in Sydney and the ACMI here in Melbourne, I'd like to welcome you to Make It Monthly. Like I said, we're normally just in Melbourne, but hey, we're around Australia, so welcome everybody tonight. A couple of months ago when we were thinking about this session, who would have thought online content? We thought, yeah, no, that'd be a good one to do about now, bring in the onliners. Well, thank you very much for that planning because it's perfect for where we are tonight. And with me are 5 guests who have managed to make themselves heard in that incredibly crowded marketplace that is the online world out there. I'll be talking to them in just a tick. Now I am going to take some questions on the chat line that sort of rolls around by the YouTube channel. So feel free to ask away. Now, okay, I'm assuming you've read all their biographies, so I'm just not going to bang through all that again because we'd be here until next Christmas. But I'm going to start by asking each of our guests to tell me their tip about working from home. First up, Lee Naimo, who's Online Investment Manager for Screen Australia. Hello, Lee.
Hello. So my tip, it's a simple one that a lot of you are probably already doing, but I find it really good to position your overhead light just so it directly bounces off your bald skull whenever you're doing a video call, and it really enhances the experience for both you and your fellow participants.
Well, I think you should be doing our lighting course, which is coming up very soon, just telling you that.
Oh, good plug.
Hayley Adams, producer and director of Love Songs, which is the first ever scripted drama released on TikTok. Hi, Hayley.
Hi, thank you very much for having me.
Pleasure.
I was going to say my tip for working from home at the moment is to have a standing desk, which is what I'm using right now, so that I'm not getting a lot of steps in at the moment, but at least I can stand.
Perfect. Good on you. Max Miller, who's a film director and among many, many other things, is one of the key creatives behind the legendary Auntie Donna. Hi, Max.
Hello everyone. Thanks for having me on, Denise.
That's a pleasure.
My tip would be to have like a proper work space. Working from the couch and bed is great, but there's nothing better than getting on a proper desk and like really being able to focus in on what you're doing and stuff and make it feel like an office. Important to have that at home.
I'll keep that in mind. I managed to drag myself out of bed at about 10 minutes before we went online. Rick Foster, from amazing career in all sorts of youth programming, and here because he's director of Flunk. Hi, Rick.
Hello, thanks for having me. Look, my tip for working from home would probably be just to hide from any small children that may also live in your house. Just find a space and hide, and probably turn off the internet as well. Can be a touch distracting.
Good idea. I love it. And Nikki Tran, you're producer of Girl Interpreted. Hello.
Hi, thanks for having me. What would be my tip? I guess because I'm not a morning person, to force yourself into a routine to get up every morning is to schedule meetings and calls and stuff early in the morning. So you have to get up.
I love it. All right, everybody, thank you. I'm going to start with Lee because you're the money man in a market where there doesn't seem to be a lot of money. So it seems entirely appropriate to start with you. And I should tell everybody that even though they will have read your bios, you are an online star in your own right. From the Axis of Awesome, correct?
That's how I introduced myself at most dinner parties, yes.
We
we had a very successful live and online career for 10 years as a comedy band and toured around to festivals around the world and had a lot of success online with, it's an awful word, but viral videos and things like that, and got some funding through Screen Australia before I was in this role. So it's good to know what it's like on the other side, being a producer and an applicant in this role, to to know what people know and what they don't know.
And I think it's crucial. I mean, it's so nice to have someone who can actually walk the walk as well as talk the talk in your job, if I'm really honest. But let's talk a little bit about the marketplace. You did say to me that, I'm from a film and TV background, particularly TV, and I'm used to sort of rocking up to a commission and going, hi, g'day, I've got this really cool idea. And they go, love it, here's some money. It's not really like that online, is it?
No, in some cases it is, but yeah, the marketplace, when you think about film and TV and those designed and very structured marketplaces, like your MIPS and things like that, where you go and there's buyers there, you've got to have a certain amount of projects in your pocket to pitch, and you may very well walk away with a sale. It doesn't really exist in online. Some of those places like Content 21 in London has a short form section, and some places might have a little, like Cannes Series has essentially the screening and the competition, but really the more successful online conventions or conferences are things like Melbourne Web Fest or some of the other international web fests, where it's more of a community vibe, and so you're going to meet other people, maybe have your project screened. You might walk away with an award, but it's rare to be able to go somewhere and pitch and have that decision in the room. I suppose the SBS road shows that they do once a year, they have certain curated pitching sections where you can apply to pitch to SBS your project, and I know that some short form projects have come out of that. But otherwise you kind of make it and you chuck it up online and hope that you get some views, and maybe that leads to the next thing.
Do you ever see the point where people will genuinely be able to make a living out of making online content? Or are people doing it now?
Yeah, definitely. I think we always saw it, and Max might be able to talk a bit about this as well, but we saw it as part of our kind of, income streams, one of our income streams amongst many. Access used it as, more of a marketing tool, going, okay, let's invest some money to some high quality production film clips and put them up on a YouTube channel. Hopefully that will build us an audience, and that will lead into our live shows, which is where we made most of our money. But definitely there's creators who are, they work really hard. And I think that's part of the myth, is that, you're just an online creator making money off your YouTube channel. You chuck a video up once a week, it's easy. There's so much work that goes into it to build that fan base, to keep them engaged, not just with the videos, but replying to their comments and maybe, engaging with them on other social media platforms. And then maybe you might make money from your advertising revenue on your YouTube channel. You might make money from merchandise sales. You might be able to, tour live and make money that way. Branded content. It tends to be one of many ways to do it, rather than the one way you'll do it. I think people often ask that question. Do you make money from your YouTube ads? And then, unless you're someone like Wenji or Raka at that level, with just millions of subscribers and millions of views per video, it's probably unlikely you're making significant money.
Okay, and we're going to talk to our guests about all of those points that you raised, and later in the conversation I'll come back to you about the sort of funding that you've got, because I know you've got a program open at the moment, which we'll talk about in a minute. Hayley, I'm going to talk to you first, because one of the things when I was setting up the panel for this was this thing, and even a couple of months ago was this TikTok thing, and I was going, oh my God, what is TikTok? And I realised that I was pretty old and I wasn't really in their marketplace, but hey, that's cool. Tell me about TikTok. What is it?
Yeah, okay, so TikTok is another video app, like a lot of them out there. And the easiest way I found of describing it to people is if you kind of thought about your Instagram Discover page. So it's like feeding you algorithmically things that it thinks you will like, but the interface looks more like Instagram stories. So it's vertical videos that are constantly being scrolled through. So it's very, it's a feed that is constantly refreshing and constantly giving you videos. And the more you interact with it, the more it gets to know you and serves up videos that it'll think you'll like.
I'm going to come back to TikTok in a minute, because I want to talk about love songs. But I just wanted to find out, your day job actually is sort of producing commercials and corporate video at Balloon Tree Productions, correct?
Yeah. So I work full time, producing corporate content, commercials, social media videos. Yeah, the sort of stuff that has, money in it more easily.
So you're doing what a lot of people do, which is, keeping the mortgage going while you're working and building your online content at the same time. With the same team at Balloon Tree?
Yeah, it's pretty much. So the person that I worked really closely with, Michelle Melky, she worked with me at Balloon Tree Productions as well. And she produced and directed with me, as well as our editor, Mary. She's also someone we work with frequently at Balloon Tree Productions. So it meant that we were already kind of had a really good team, and we had that sort of trust inbuilt. So when we went out and wanted to do a creative project on the side, we had those people already there available, and that were trustworthy for us. So it's been really great.
Look, I'm just talking at the moment now to ACMI video players, because I'm actually about to call for the first clip, which is TikTok and love songs. Could you please play that, ACMI?
Oh, sorry. I'm Xavier.
I'm Stella.
I got a few people coming over next weekend. I want you there.
Totally. Real party animal right here. Do this. Xavier and I are friends.
I had fun last night.
Actually, more than that.
Don't be alarmed. The side effect of a dry all goes away.
Can we stop that clip, please? Because that's the next clip. Whoops, whoops. Hold on. Oh, we're getting so excited. We're almost playing them all at once. Okay. Hayley, let's talk TikTok, which was cute little one we saw at the beginning. How did Love Songs come about?
Yeah, so Love Songs was kind of a passion project on the side that was, we had the ideas of using music in it, and it was going to be short form. But once we actually started thinking a little bit harder about making it, we realized that previously we were thinking of putting on Instagram just as another novel way of releasing content. But then when we started playing around with TikTok late last year, we realized that was actually a really interesting new place to put it. So the way that TikTok works is you can have videos up to 1 minute, and it's vertical. So that were the constraints that we had to put on the show. So it's 21 1-minute episodes and a few additional content bits. And the process of developing it was using TikTok has an inbuilt list of songs. So we knew that we would have access to music, and then the series called Love Songs, every episode would have a song in it. So we had a couple of, constraints in that way. So 1 minute episodes, vertical videos, and music in every episode. And you have to be creative when you have those sorts of constraints. And so we went into outlining a story. The thing that we knew about TikTok going in was that it has a really big young audience, so teenagers, and a predominantly female audience, so lots of teenage girls. So the series, as you can see from the video just played then, which is 15-second trailer, is a love story, a will they won't they, a teen romance drama story, very purposely designed for that audience, and also by people that love that audience as well and are that audience. I grew up and I love that sort of stuff, Twilight. I'm rewatching at the moment in isolation. It's great. So
and it's done incredibly well, hasn't it? It's had 7 million views with 100,000 followers and 1.4 million likes. Did I read that it was number one?
So the trailer, what happened was, we made the show, and we didn't know what was going to happen. It's the first time something like this has been put on TikTok, as far as we can tell. We put up a trailer, which was just played then, and it sat on the platform for a couple of days without much happening to it. We went to bed one night, it had 1,200 views, and then we woke up the next morning and it had 120,000. And then it climbed over the next weekend it's now at just over 3 million views. So that is kind of the power of TikTok. It's the one platform still left where you can have weirdly viral overnight success, because there's so many users and the algorithm is so developed, I guess, that it can pick something up and really push it out. It's hard to know what it's going to be, but when it does happen, it goes crazy. So so over that kind of weekend that it went viral, we picked up quite a few followers. And it was just a test of, okay, what's going to happen when we actually release 1 minute videos, because the trailer is a 15-second video and is, much easier and faster and quicker to digest, and obviously quicker to rack up views because it's on a loop.
Yeah.
So yeah, it was releasing the actual episodes that was the true test. And what we found is, yeah, we didn't get millions of views on the episodes, but they're all over 100,000 at the moment. So people were tuning in for the actual show. Like a lot of the comments were people actually wanting to watch the plot, which was an interesting, I guess, twist from what we thought might happen. With TikTok, it's very meme based. It's very like short, sharp comedy or, shareable stuff. And
Yeah.
it wasn't necessarily, TikTok friendly with long episodes and stuff. So yeah, so it seems to kind of have worked, I guess.
That's good. I mean, you also talk and just in brief that you cut and recut the promo you were explaining to me, because you were very scientific in your approach.
So before we actually released the show, so the show's called Love Songs, and we promoted it around Valentine's Day. But 2 weeks before Valentine's Day was like our experimental period, I guess. So once we started releasing the show, we knew that we were locked into like actually, doing it, and we wouldn't have had time to experiment with what time to release and format and length and things like that. So at the very beginning, we were doing like short form trailers, behind the scenes videos, editing existing footage from the show into TikTok trends to see if they would take off. And yeah, one thing we did was there is a 30-second version of the trailer that has just a random like background music. It's not a big pop song essentially. And that's a 30-second video. And yeah, that did nowhere near as well at the beginning. We thought that might happen. But we took it and recut it to the song. Well, we didn't even recut it. We just matched it to the song that was trending on TikTok at the time, which was Blinding Lights, which is there in that clip that was playing, and used the Blinding Lights hashtag. And that's the version of the trailer that went off.
Okay, so I can see the science in your approach. Just a question from the audience. Any idea where your audience comes from for Love Songs on TikTok? Is it mainly Australian or international?
It's predominantly international. So yeah, TikTok gives you like a certain amount of analytics, the way that most platforms do. Our biggest audience is about 25% in the US, and it's like something like 96% female. And then some of the kind of smaller countries are like Germany, Poland, and yeah, a couple of like European countries. Like yeah, Australia doesn't tend to rate super high on those analytics. Yeah.
Okay, cool. Thank you. We'll hear more from you in a minute, but I'm going to go to Nikki now because I'm really fascinated by Girl Interpreted. And I'm just going to play the clip first, actually. Now, I don't know whether all of the clips are joined up or not, but I'll shout stop at the end of the Girl Interpreted clip just in case. But can we have clip 2, please, ACMI?
Don't be alarmed. The side effect of a dry orgasm only happens to very few people.
你是不是喝多了，还是嗑药了吗？谁说的？Who's that? You. 你呀？我。It's kind of like a Shakespeare sonnet, but in Mandarin.
Tell me exactly what she said.
No, I don't want to get back together with you. Listen. 直男是个新的词，就是像你这样子的男人。
你别这么说，我有直男。
好，你不要打他，孙子，兔崽子。How is that correct, Lillian?
Whoa, yes, brilliant. I love that. I just totally adore that. And it's on YouTube, as it said there. Now, Nikki, your co-collaborator, Grace, can't be with us tonight because she's at home crook. So we have to say hello to her as well.
Hi, Grace.
Yeah. Tell me, how did that come about?
This was Grace's idea because I met her at this initiative that Film Victoria and AFTRS ran almost 3 years ago, 2 years ago. And it was talent camp, and Grace had this idea. She used to be a professional interpreter for a few years, and she thought, wouldn't it be great to turn all these awkward moments in my life and put them into a comedy? And that was how the germ of the idea of the show was born. And then, yeah, we met and we became friends, and she asked if I wanted to produce the web series with her.
Because you'd done some production on web series before, hadn't you? Is that right?
Yeah. Yeah. Previously, I wrote and produced a web series called Fresh.
That's right.
Yeah.
And you got a great EP on board too with Stuart Menzies, who some of our audience will know as one of the best sort of producers around. So you obviously went for skills. Who paid for that? Who funded that one?
Part of the funding came from so the talent camp that Grace and I were part of. There was a national there was one in every state. There was a workshop in every state, and then there was a national one that Grace got into. And then there was a bit of funding that came out of that people could apply for. And we got part of that funding from Film Victoria and AFTRS. And then we went to Screen Australia to get the rest of the funding for the web series.
Now, what really caught my eye, good on you, Lee. I can see you going, yay, in the background. Good on you. We love you very much. Particularly the people watching will love you even more by the end of this. Now, what really intrigued me about this is because you actually have managed to crack the mainland Chinese market. And I'm really interested to know how that came about and actually what that means in practice. And we'll come to how you made two versions in a minute, but let's just concentrate on how on earth did you manage to achieve a win in China?
We were really lucky because we had an in. Grace had previously been to Shanghai International Film Festival. I think she worked there, and met contacts from the major streaming platforms in China. So there's three big ones. There's Tencent, iQIYI, and Youku, and Girl Interpreted is actually on two of those. It's on Tencent and iQIYI. So Grace had it in with them and got their contact emails and started chatting with them. A lot of their business is conducted through WeChat. So yeah, I think that's how the conversation started it. And once we had the idea, we wanted to see if they were interested in having Girl Interpreted on their platform. They sort of said to us, yes, just send us the show when it's completed. We'll review it. And if it's something that we're interested in, we'll acquire it. And that's what happened.
I went from there. I mean, when you were setting out, because it's obviously a brilliant idea in the sense that you can just do different subtitles for different marketplaces so that you made it user-friendly in both marketplaces or saleable. You also mentioned that there was some other sort of sensitivities around some of the content. I imagine life in China is a bit different from life in Australia with some of the interpretation situations.
I think the thing about the show is that it's good because it does talk about cultural differences, and so that both audiences, English speaking and Mandarin speaking and Chinese diaspora around the world, can actually relate to as well. So the concept of the show itself is already quite open to both audiences. Sensitivity wise, I think because the show is kind of removed, because it's hard to talk about China nowadays without going into the politics of Chinese and Chinese government. But the show is removed from all of that. It's really talking about the culture and the language and celebrating, the Chinese community in Australia, in Western countries, and also what life is like, reflecting what life is like back to people who live in mainland China. So in a way, I think there wasn't so much trouble in that sense. I mean, there were when we were dealing with Tencent, there was, a little thing about language and swearing, but that's kind of like commercial channels as well. That swearing's blurred out.
So how did the money thing play out? Do you actually expect to see any money from that venture, or is it just about exposure? What are the benefits?
For us, at the moment, in terms of the show on Chinese platforms, it's mostly about exposure. There is a little bit of, while we were negotiating with them, it was really the sense that, because as an emerging filmmaker, you're kind of like, as long as people see my stuff, I don't care. I will just give it away for free. But the good thing about having Stuart as our EP, he was saying to us, well, no, you got to push for it. You got to have some kind of negotiation so you don't completely get the raw end of the deal. Through those negotiations, we kind of were able to, even if it wasn't like monetary, for Tencent, we were able to negotiate a certain amount of promotional resources dedicated to the show when it was released on their platform. So it was on the carousel next to like HBO shows.
Wow.
Which was pretty cool. And that was up there for a few days. So it had that sort of exposure to everyone and all their users. For ITU, we were able to get, it was monetized. So there was a revenue split between whatever ads they were having up and how much it earned. We got a 50-50 split. So that was good.
That is good. Oh, great. All right. Well, look, we're going to come back to you again in a minute, but I'm going to go to Rick Forster now to talk about Flunk, which is an entirely different proposition, really. But Rick, you've had a long career in sort of youth programming and in soaps. You've directed shows like Neighbours and Hollyoaks in the UK, all sorts of other shows too. Tell me a little bit about Flunk before we play the clip.
Sure. So Flunk is a teen drama series. It's in the vein of, I guess, 90s shows like Heartbreak High or Degrassi. And the first series focuses on the character Ingrid as she's struggling to come to terms with her sexuality and dealing with, you know, high school problems and a very conservative Chinese Australian family.
Okay. Well, I'm going to play this little clip because it's called Ingrid's Story. So thank you, ACMI.
But it's not like you like anybody anyway, right? It doesn't matter, they don't like me back anyway. How do you know?
You ever had a boyfriend?
Have you? We've got to be honest with each other. I don't like you. Is that what you want? You have to live a little. Take a chance. Do something crazy.
And oh, great. I love that one too, actually. I've loved them all. Thank you for every clip because they've all been amazing. You didn't, I mean, when we were speaking, you weren't tremendously excited about Australian broadcasting commissioners. You said they had their foibles and their weaknesses. We won't go there. So you obviously didn't make it with an Australian market in mind, correct?
Well, look, we would have loved to. You know, I guess when we were conceiving the project, one of the thoughts was, you know, where is the TV series for teenagers now? Like it doesn't exist. And for whatever reason, the broadcasters here aren't really looking towards that market. I guess teens have migrated to platforms like YouTube and Instagram. So it made more sense for us just to make the show directly and build an audience online first.
You've had a great funding model, and you know, and I was interested because you were talking about finding funding in America, for example. Can you just tell me a little bit about that?
Sure. So one of the things we did with the show, the important thing for us was for it to be a sustainable project because it takes so long to build an audience. You know, on YouTube, you can get really lucky, put a few episodes out and you know, millions of views overnight. Didn't happen to us. It was a slower process. So we had to put quite a low budget production model in place, very small crew, because we knew it was going to take us a couple of years to build this thing. So every couple of months we would shoot some more episodes, and the way Flunk is structured, you know, they're 5-minute episodes on YouTube, but they also, if you stick 5 of them together, it actually makes a more traditional half hour. And what we found was when we went to, you know, we reached out to streaming platforms around the world. And this is something that, you know, I'd really suggest creators do, is you can knock on those doors. Don't think about just Australia, look overseas as well, because they're hungry for content. And it was that we had, you know, that longer form version of the show. We were able to get a little bit more money to put it out in that format.
And you were saying that the sort of the LGBTQ market is a sort of an unexplored niche, really, for when it comes to funding, and that you did find that there was funding available from channels in the US, for example. Is that right?
Yeah. So where Flunk sits at the moment, it's on a US streaming platform called Here TV, and they predominantly cater for a queer audience. So it's, you know, it's a really good fit for them. And there's quite a few similar platforms. You know, there's a similar one in Canada, and there's a European, and there's an Asian kind of version. Those niche streamers, you know, I know everyone would love to perhaps be on Netflix or Hulu, you know, the giants, but there are a lot of, depending on your show, some really great niche partners as well. And you know, that's been a big focus of the business now. It's not just trying to figure out the creative, but it's also to put together that, you know, those partners in a way that we can keep producing the show for, you know, for years, hopefully.
And does that mean that your production budget is pretty much covered off?
Look, we're getting there. We were lucky to see, so we produced season 1, which was 40 5-minute episodes. Season 2, we actually got some money from the Community Broadcasting Foundation in Australia. And so there's a broadcast on Channel 31 as part of that. But yeah, it's looking like it should be a sustainable thing going forward.
And it's available now on Channel 31, isn't it? I should tell, it is now up and running on there so people can see it.
That's right, yeah, the half-hour version, because they've got those longer half-hour slots to fill. It's available, I think it's 10 o'clock every Monday night.
Okay, and you're working on season 3 at the moment, yeah?
Yeah, so we've been very fortunate. So season 2 is in the can, and we're going to start rolling that out in April. And we also recently got some development funding from Screen Australia, which has been really fantastic.
He rides again.
Yeah, which enabled us to actually, you know, the production was so small previously. It was basically me, you know, and a producer. And we were able to bring in some more writers, hold a writer's room, and, you know, really finesse the project in a way that we hadn't been able to do before.
Brilliant. And I mean, one of the things that's been interesting about your career is that you have gone from, you know, the Neighbours side, the big production side in television through to online content, as you're describing, and with very high production values still. And I think when you were telling me about the Neighbours YouTube channel show, and I was fascinated by it, particularly because I found out later too that it was part of one of Screen Australia's funding initiatives, which we'll talk about later. Let's just, ACMI, could I please have the Neighbours clip now? Because I think this is fascinating.
Did you hear him?
You alright, dude?
No, I'm not alright.
It's been a miracle.
Carl.
Neighbors, everybody it's their neighbors. It's a little supernatural. Corpses feasting on remains. Oh, neighbors, zombies next door to each other. That's when good neighbors will come for
I can still see my reflection.
That's vampires?
Now that's a wee bit old. Oh, whoops. That's a little bit old now, but I think it's a really fascinating thing for a TV series like Neighbours to venture online. What was the sort of thinking behind making that series?
Well, my kind of brief when I joined the show was to kind of relaunch it online, and Neighbours is it's a very long running show. And one of the challenges was how do you reach an audience that might have switched off from linear TV and is now, consuming things online. So that I think, when I was there, we did about 10 series of different types. And this one, thinking about, what is the niche for your channel? Flunk, it's an LGBT audience. Neighbours, it was Neighbours fans. And how could we give them something that they weren't getting in the main show? And that was bringing back characters from the dead. It does sometimes happen on a TV show properly, but it was really, how can we make a project that would attract those lapsed viewers and make a lot of noise for us? You would have heard there was a theme song cover that was done. So it was That's When Good Neighbours Will Eat Your Brains, done by the fantastic Luna Maroon. And that, I believe, got played on Triple J, which is, it's the sort of publicity you can't buy, which was a really great result. So it was really, what can we do that's noisy and different and lends itself to being shared?
Terrific. Look, that's amazing. Now I'm going to move to Max, who's been terribly patiently waiting. I'm sure everybody watching knows who Auntie Donna is, but just in case they don't, Max, can you just briefly tell us who's Auntie Donna?
Yeah, sure. So we're a sketch comedy group. We make both like video content for online and other platforms, as well as having a live show component. So there's six of us in total, quite a lot. There's three of us, three guys who are on stage, performers and also writers. And then there's another writer as well. There's myself who directs all the film content, and then we have our sixth member who does all the music and sound. So we're kind of like a little team with different skill sets. And yeah, we've kind of been making sketch comedy for about 8 years now.
But you've got a hell of a presence on YouTube, haven't you? I mean, I was just looking, you've got, your YouTube channels had over 52 million views and 276,000 subscribers. That's the figures are about right?
Yeah, that sounds about right.
But what's interesting too is that, like with Neighbours, they were trying to find a different audience. Your motivation in doing YouTube stuff was not about making YouTube content per se. It was about getting an audience, as Lee was talking about, to your comedy show, really, wasn't it?
It was originally the beginning of Auntie Donna was to be a live act, and having, after the first kind of live show that the guys did at the comedy festival, we then got approached to make some little videos for Channel 31. We put those up on YouTube. They got a couple of thousand views, which we thought was great at the time and kind of cool. And then at a certain point, it seemed to catch on online, and then those views kind of went up quite a bit in a shorter space of time. And then we kind of thought that this was something that we should keep doing and be pursuing. And then so since then, it's basically become both, and then both the live show and the online stuff kind of feed each other. So once the online views started doing well, we were able to sell more tickets to the live show, and then more people came, and then they watched the YouTube videos and so on. So both components have always kind of been an important thing. And the YouTube has been a big kind of home for us, and a big kind of launching platform for all our stuff.
And also, I mean, I should give a shout out to Channel 31. My God, they've launched so many careers, and I just want to say good on you, Channel 31. Hang in there.
Yes, they are amazing.
But also, what it also delivered to you, of course, was a brilliant calling card for broadcasters. Tell us about who you worked with initially as a broadcaster, making shows for broadcasters.
So we've kind of like worked bits and pieces with different people. And I would say what Lee was talking about before is very true, in the sense that having videos on YouTube has been mostly about developing awareness of who we are, and the brand and what we do and everything, as opposed to like a monetary thing. And so that's, then fed into like commissions to make bits of content and stuff along the way. So we've sold and made things for the ABC. We've had a commission from Comedy Central to do a short web series, and
Foxtel,
we made a few little things for them as well. Only small things, like not TV shows or anything like that, but like just kind of what we do, sketches, and either a couple of sketches or like a little 5 sketch series. But yeah, it's all kind of like part of the Aunty Donna ecosystem, essentially.
I'm going to call to ACMI probably for the last clip, actually, which will probably fill Alex with huge relief. I want to see this is a clip of something that you made for Comedy Central that you talked about. Let's have a look at that.
Hi.
G'day, champ. Welcome to my bar. What can I get for you?
Do you do cocktails, little girl?
We do cocktails. There's our menu just there if you want to...
I don't want to hear another word from your whore mouth. Surprise me, little man.
All right, then. I think I'm fucking around. I'm over here. Hey, what are you doing?
Oh, sorry, I just need to work.
Sorry, yes, okay, cool.
I love that too. I did have to take a rather inelegant out, and I apologise for that. My editing skills are pretty crap, really.
Thank you so much for doing that. The whole thing was kind of plain. I was very sorry for everyone to have to sit through that.
No. It's great. I mean, you talk about it being a calling card for your shows, but equally, it is a calling card for bigger things, presumably as well, with broadcasters or whoever around the world. Is that a fair thing, that you want to make longer form stuff?
Yeah, absolutely. Like it's been a kind of, it's been a process along the way. I was just thinking before, actually, about 4 years ago, we had a pretty big discussion about whether we actually wanted to pursue longer form TV kind of stuff, because that was originally the goal. And then when YouTube started doing well for us, and we thought that maybe this was actually a better path to kind of pursue, because it allows you a great freedom in terms of what you make. There's a greater connection to the people who are watching it, and it just seemed like a really kind of great thing that was kind of was building and becoming popular. But ultimately, what we kind of then decided is that it is really important to us, and we wanted to keep doing that, but also still pursue the longer form TV show. And the big reason for that is because it is just really hard to make a living off YouTube. As Lee said, you've got to be like in the top tier kind of YouTube people to be able to do that. So essentially you have to diversify and have multiple kind of outlets. And so for us, that comes, like I said before, the live show, online, not just on YouTube, but there's Facebook or TikTok and Instagram, those kind of things. And then also pursuing, a longer form version of Aunty Donna, which we have recently been kind of working on, which is great. So it's kind of nice after a long period of time to finally get to that place.
And we should stand by and wait for good news on that front, I gather.
Yes, fortunately can't be too specific, sorry. But it's we've kind of been fortunate to come to a place where we've been able to take to create a longer form version of what we do, it's been good to have that and kind of explore those other kind of areas and stuff. But we still, that doesn't mean it's the end of YouTube for us. It's still a really important kind of element. So like I was saying, it's like having the fingers in many pies and like being spread across as much as you can, because we've had over the journey on YouTube, you're kind of beholden to the people who run it and them changing algorithms. So there was a big point a few years ago where they greatly changed the algorithms and suddenly getting views was really hard. So being tied to one platform can be really detrimental in that way. So having a kind of scope of places that you exist is really important. So you're not tied to like whatever Google decide to do this week or Facebook decide to do this week.
So they're no different to conventional broadcasters when it comes down to it. They still control their audiences, as they should.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, there's some questions coming in here that I'll just ask. The first one's for Rick. As a spin-off of a long-running series, did Neighbours vs. Zombie mostly draw in the current fans, older fans, and or audience outside the fan base?
Look, it's a great question. The short answer to that is I don't know. And that's one of the challenges you face when you put something out online. How do you actually measure specifically? One of the things we did see in the comments was, oh, look, I haven't watched the show in a while, but it was great to see these characters. So funny. And once they've subscribed to the channel, I think we added 5,000 subscribers in a week, which was quite a big leap. I think it went from 8 to 13,000. And what that meant was those viewers were now on the hook, whether they were new or lapsed. They were then on the hook to receive promos of current storylines. So once you've got them as a subscriber, they're going to see everything else.
Okay, cool. Now, another question, and this is something that could go to you all generally. What are the top few factors that to experiment with, research, or prepare for when preparing to release a new series and in trying to reach an audience? I mean, it's a fundamental. How the hell do you get an audience in a landscape that is so noisy? Who wants to start? I don't know. I think we haven't heard from Nikki for a bit, so let's start with you.
What was the question?
How do you reach an audience?
How do you reach?
Somebody's asking, how on earth? I've got this new thing to put up. How the hell am I going to get anyone to see it?
I think it really helps at the very start when you are making the series at the concept stage to know that who you're trying to speak to, because I think web series in particular respond really well to very niche audiences, very specific audiences. It's not as broad as TV is. And then figuring out where those people hang out online, basically, all the little nooks and crannies. I've learned that in making web series, half the work is actually pushing the show out. It's not just because we've filmed it and we've gone through all the post and everything isn't actually the end of it. It just keeps going. You have to spend a lot of energy trying to find all the online forums, all the online spaces that your audience hangs out on, and try to reach them that way.
Hayley, I think you were saying similar things in a way. It was about promoting your content, but have you got any more general tips perhaps to add to what Nikki was just saying?
Yeah, definitely. What Nikki says is 100% true. Like, you have to know where your audience, like who your audience is in the first place, actually specifically who they are. Something that we really, I feel, did really well for Love Songs was like identifying or knowing exactly who our audience is and where they were hanging out. So basically, there wasn't narrative content necessarily on TikTok, but we knew that there were millions of young girls on TikTok who would want to watch teen content, who would want to watch the show that we were going to make. And so we could just spend, 10 minutes on TikTok scrolling for a while and be like, oh yeah, they're definitely here. Like, if we can just get them to see the show, we're pretty confident they'll like it. And I think that's, the most important part for an online series is you have to be so much more specific than anything else, because you actually have to know, like, why are people actually going to like watch a show, but also like, why are they going to share it? Why are they going to send it to their friend and help the show grow? Because that's what happened with like our trailer, was that enough people started seeing it. But the thing that's really valuable on TikTok is shares, because I think that it's like, it's the most important thing on the internet, but sharing in the TikTok algorithm, we learned, was the most valuable part of getting your show out there. As soon as somebody starts sharing it, it's like a symbol that they like it so much they want their friends to see it, or they find it funny or cringy enough that they want someone to see it, and that's how you get more views. That's how it gets shared and pushed out even further. And so that's what you want your audience to be doing. They're so engaged that they want to share it with their friends, and that's how you can build it. So figuring out a way to make content that is shareable and that people will engage with is like half the battle. It's not just
part of the job, isn't it? Yeah, that's part of the job. There's a question here that you could perhaps answer too. I'd love to know about the revenue tiers in YouTube and TikTok, etc., and if it's possible to make money there without funding. In other words, can you pay for it out of TikTok?
Yeah. So at the moment, you can't monetize on TikTok the way that you can on like YouTube, that people kind of would be aware of. There are two of the actors from our show are influencers and like TikTok influencers. So they're big on TikTok and Instagram. So they do make money off their TikTok posts. So they'll post like videos for brands using songs that they've been paid to use, or promoting 7-Eleven or something like that. So they can earn some cash that way. And then the other way is live streaming on TikTok. So fans can buy tokens of TikTok and give them to creators. But in terms of actually like monetizing your videos, not so much, but you can do it in the sort of like influencer model.
I'm going to actually come to Lee on that one too, because I mean, you know, when you were doing the Axis of Awesome that was YouTube, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was where we got most of our views. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you make any money off YouTube? Is that possible?
We found the actual way we made money, and this is before Apple ended iTunes, was that people would buy they'd see our songs on YouTube and they'd buy the music on iTunes. So that was a pretty big revenue raiser. And to be honest, it still is through streaming. We get a modest amount monthly that comes through Spotify and places like that worldwide from streams, mostly of the one song that's gone big for us. But to that person's question, I think you want to figure out a model where what you're able to create and upload a really, really significant amount of content really cheaply and really quickly and easily. That's when you're going to be able to, and hopefully that engages your fans. It's got to be good and engage your fans. Maybe that's vlogging, maybe it's something else that you can just do really cheaply and quickly. You're talking about without funding, it's probably not going to be scripted narrative. That's typically more expensive to make. So what's so cheap you can make it and build an audience and then hopefully see a return. But it is very hard to start a YouTube channel in 2020 and see income there. Although no better time than now when people are, hungry for new content.
And sitting at home, quite right. I'm going to talk to you a little bit about funding because before I go back to everybody to because we've only got another few minutes. What's available? Let's talk a bit about Skip Ahead. You're coming into your 6th offering of that. What is Skip Ahead and how do people apply for it?
Skip Ahead's a joint initiative between Screen Australia and YouTube, or YouTube/Google. Basically, we are looking for YouTubers with a significant fan base. At the moment, it's 25,000 or over, or one video with over 1 million views, who want to transition to another form, either scripted narrative or documentary storytelling. So you can apply right now. It's open till May 7th. So it's a targeted initiative where it's got a certain amount of time that it's open for. So it does only open around once a year. And you can apply for up to $150,000. You get that from Screen Odds and YouTube. We take you through some development workshops on your idea. So you kind of apply more at a concept stage. And then we take you through that scripting process and the production. And then you release it on your YouTube channel. Hopefully it's retaining that audience and building a bigger audience, but doing something a little bit different from what you've done traditionally.
And you were talking before about, having partnerships with organizations like Snapchat, platforms like Snapchat. Talk about why what do they bring to a partnership and how do they work for producers out there that might want to make a show?
Sure. I mean, I think it's very difficult. We've talked about this earlier in the online space to find a commissioning platform. So that I see as part of our role at Screen Australia for these initiatives to bring those packages where you get the funding and you get the platform to tell your story on. So I think what those places bring, like Snapchat has 210 million unique daily users, for example. So they have a suite of Snapchat originals that are typically getting scripted narrative or documentary content that's getting, tens, millions of views on all of those programs. So we saw that as an opportunity to go, okay, let's partner with them and open that up for Australian creatives to tell their stories. Similarly with Skip Ahead, it's about, you've got the audience already, but you get the funding and the support to go into scripted narrative, or something like our Digital Originals initiative with SBS, bringing that commissioning platform to the party, because I think that's something that a lot of emerging creators are, you know, and even mid-tier and experienced creators, there's so few commissioning opportunities in Australia.
And I mean, what's so cool about something like Snapchat, of course, is it comes with it's like a broadcaster in old terms, in the sense that they come with an audience, they come with promotion, they've already got, you know, a captive audience that's sort of potentially open to seeing your shows.
Yeah, my favorite thing about when we launched our Snapchat initiative was that we did get some people going, what is this mobile bullshit that you're partnering with? And I'm like, yeah, cool. You're probably a more traditional producer. This mobile bullshit, some of these shows get 50 million views across the series. Like, to be able to boast that and to say that you've had that audience internationally and in America, the doors that will open for you is incredible. So I was really proud of that comment, because it showed me that I was doing the right thing with targeting at, you know, newer creators.
I love it. That internet bullshit, online bullshit. I love it. Just a couple of quick questions, because then I'm going to sort of throw it open to anything else you want to talk about from Screen Australia's perspective before I ask the next lot of questions.
Yeah, I'll just quickly tie in on things that have been mentioned. But so Rick was saying Flunk Season 3 has got development support from Screen Australia. We fund online projects for development now, and we're probably going to be looking to do more of that as we move into a time when you can't go into production right now. We funded Auntie Donna for, you know, through Skip Ahead, through our production fund. So we have our online production fund that's open all year round as well, as is development. And Girl Interpreter came through that production fund as well. So I guess the message from Screen Australia is we're open for online creators. Please, you know, talk to us about your ideas. If you're making stuff already, if you've got ideas that will work to an online audience, we want to be talking to you and want to be, at least, if we don't think your project's ready to come to us yet, we can at least give you some tips and tricks on what might position you better to come into us for funding.
Okay, thanks. One of the questions for you, which sort of falls into that, is what about natural history focused content? Is there a market for that? Is there any tips to gain funding at the early stages, or?
Would that be documentary content? Is that what we're
Well, I
talking
feel
about?
that's what they're asking. It just says natural history focused. So I'm assuming short form doco or...
Yeah, we have a documentary unit that funds across features, TV, VR, and online as well. They're, you know, really looking for a lot of online content as well. They work more in a kind of rounds format, so you can apply with certain deadlines for their rounds. But they're not my department, so I don't know. But check out Screen Australia. Just Google Screen Australia documentary. I'm sure it'll come up, and you'll be able to see all the opportunities there.
Cool. Now, just before. Esther, my worthy assistant, has come in here. Forgot that one. Lee, is there evidence that 50 plus audiences are watching online? And if so, what are they watching? Be careful, because like I'm a touch over 50, Lee. Be very careful.
I would say they're going more at platforms like Facebook is more an audience. Is that what you're going to say, Hayley?
I was going to say, from memory, Starting From Now has some really good stats on their older audience. So that was a Screen Australia lesbian show. And I saw them do a presentation, and they have quite an engaged, older audience. I think something that, Rick would have mentioned before about the queer audience being, just super engaged online. So, I would say Facebook for sure, but Starting From Now was on YouTube at the beginning, and they had a dedicated audience across basically every age group from memory.
Thank you. That's cool. Now, I'm just going to wrap it up with a question for each of you, really. And I don't mind who goes first, really. But what's your advice? You know, I don't know. That's not a very good question, I know, because it's so big and so open. But rather than trying to be cute about it, just come up with one piece of advice you wish you'd known 5 years ago. Go on, Hayley, you're on the hot seat at the moment. Way you go.
One piece of advice. That's such a hard question. I would say online, I'm going to twist your question a tiny bit. But when I talk about online content with people, something we talk about a lot is like, who is your audience, right? Like you can't make stuff for people if you don't know where they are or who they are. So that sort of advice is what I would give to online creators. But I did see someone asking a sort of question about a teen romance, a teen book they had, and whether they should turn it into a long form or short form, or where it should go.
Do you get that? I haven't got those questions. Damn it. Go on, go for it.
It just made me think similar to your question though as well. Is like, you have to make something that you're passionate about and that you like, because then you're most able to put it where it needs to be. So something that Love Songs did for myself and Michelle was that we loved teen content and we knew why girls like it and the way they watch it. And that was something that was really valuable to the success of Love Songs, because we were putting out what we knew and we knew how it was going to work and why people would react to it. So it was kind of like, you know, if it's good, they'll watch it. And if you're passionate about it and you like it and you understand who that audience is, you'll know where to put it. So it's sort of like interrogating that and who your audience is when you're making something would be my advice.
Such a crucial, I mean, it doesn't matter who you're making for content for, what platform, what subject matter. If you don't know your audience, then I'm sorry, you're completely screwed, and just don't bother. And I think that's such a good point, well made. Who am I going to talk to next? I think Rick's looking like he might be sort of nodding off a bit. So I'm going to just go to you, Rick. What would you say?
Okay, I think one of the things that worked for us really well was so you have an idea for a series, test it. And the way you can do that, as Hayley says about, you know, reshaping that trailer, one of the advantages you've got as a web series producer, you know, rather than make your whole series and then put it out, and you actually have an opportunity. Something we did with Funk was shoot a few episodes at a time, release them, and look at that, look at the comment, look at the feedback, see what's working. And from that, we actually gained some really interesting insights as to which episodes, you know, when your episodes are doing this, and then one does really well and then another one does really well, and you can really drill down into, okay, well, what's worked about that. And some of the things we kind of figured out were really look on YouTube, look at the combination between your thumbnail, your title, and what the opening few seconds are of your video, because our top episodes, there is a repeatable format, and we've certainly leaned into that as we go. And you can really see that through the data. And another thing is, once you start seeing, you know, I know we've talked about how Australian series can get really large audiences internationally. Something we found is Indonesia is a massive market, perhaps underserved for LGBT content in the country. And so something you can actually do is add translations to your YouTube episode titles and all the metadata, and add actual subtitles and really broaden out that audience. And that's something we never would have known about had we not started releasing and learning those things along the way.
Oh, that's great. Thank you. Love it. Max, what about you? What would you say?
Just general advice wise?
Yeah. Or what would you have said? What do you wish you'd known 5 years ago? Or what general advice, whatever?
Well, I mean, in terms of 5 years ago, I don't know. Probably something I touched on before, to reiterate, that we really believe in is to kind of diversify like platforms that you're on. Don't be tied down to just one place. Because I mentioned before, yeah, they will screw you over at some point eventually. So you want to have like that kind of like, be platform agnostic basically, and have the freedom to reach your audience in different ways, and kind of controlling your audience, and like knowing how you can reach them if suddenly a platform makes it really difficult.
Okay.
Cool. So that's something I wish we knew before. And then otherwise, general advice, I would say that like, I think trying as much as possible, I think, and I only speak for what's worked for us, is building a brand for your platform. And, you know, when you're a comedy group, that's kind of a bit more obvious and easier because that's the group. But, you know, if you're making like a drama series or something like that, it's a bit harder. But, you know, there's potentially other ways. Maybe it's like the channel that you're creating that it goes on. It's like the name of that channel is like the production company or something, and you aim to build that up as a channel that has different drama series, that, you know, go on there and stuff, and that can then have longevity as well, because obviously a one-off series will end, and then you try to make a new series and you're starting all over again.
All over again, yeah.
So if you can like try and create a channel and a brand that can last, and you can put your different content on, and that can be on YouTube, it can be on Facebook, it can be on Instagram, then, you know, having that longevity will help in the general awareness and people knowing who that channel is and what they do.
So it's sort of becoming your own broadcaster. Lee, I'm going to end actually on Nikki, but I want to go to Lee first. You know, with your Access of Awesome experience, what's your advice? I mean, also is your job at Screen Australia.
Yeah, two things. And from Screen Australia perspective, I'm just going to borrow this from my online colleague who I work with. Just watch web series. Like, it sounds obvious, but people literally come to us who don't watch web series and say, oh, I want funding for this. You're like, okay, well, what are you watching at the moment? What's it like? Oh, I don't really watch web series. Well, the whole medium and whole language of its own. So dive in and watch some, and some good starting points here. Love Songs, Auntie Donna, Go Interpret It, Flunk, all of those web series are great examples of series that have built an audience. And from my days in Access, and even still at Screen, my other advice, which is so obvious, as the light gets brighter around me for some reason.
No, you're glowing. It's gorgeous, glowing.
Saying this is really good advice, pay attention. Just make it, seriously. Like right now, there's never been an easier time, you know, coronavirus, you know, notwithstanding. We've all got cameras in our pockets. Like, just go and shoot something, put it up online, see what an audience responds to. Even if it's a tiny audience, what are they liking? What are they not liking? What can you do more of? What can you do better? You'll learn so much just by making something, chucking it up, and you'll be in a better position to come and talk to the funding bodies. If you can go, hey, I've made this, I've got this audience in my pocket. And even if they're small, they might be a dedicated and engaged audience.
That whole thing about, oh no, I don't watch telly. People used to say that to me when they'd come in for commissioning. I don't watch television. Well, wrong door, love. Nikki, the final word on this bit for you. What's your advice? What had you known would have made it easier?
Lee sort of stole some of my answer. But yeah, definitely watch web series and figure out maybe where your show would fit in amongst all of that. Not to copy it, but just to know where you're placed. And also to reach out to people who have done it before and get advice from them. I think it's hard to go it alone sometimes, where you don't have the resources or you're not quite aware of what you're doing if you're just starting out. So find people who are doing the things that you want to do and kind of see how they did it and if they've got any advice.
Thank you. What a brilliant panel. Thank you so much. I can't tell you how amazing it has been that we actually all worked and it all went out. And I want to thank each of you for brilliant expertise. It was just lovely to share it. We're going to do another one in a month from now, but we don't quite know what we'll do yet. So if you've got ideas about what it should be, do you want one-on-ones? Do you want more panels like this? What do you want? So let us know either through this sort of chat thing that I can't see, but feel free, or at mediamentors.com.au, feel free. Before I go, I want to say again a huge thank you to AFTRS, but also particularly to ACMI, who have worked so hard to make this happen. I'd like to mention also on the YouTube channel that you're watching now, the Running Free Skills mini sessions that are on. And AFTRS is actually rolling out a whole bunch of new online courses, I think in April, later this month and onwards. So they're in-depth, they're serious courses and they're brilliant. But thank you so much all again. And on that note, I'm going for the biggest, fattest glass of red I can find. Take care, everybody. See ya. Wow. Thank you, guys.
No worries. We did it.
Thank you, Denise.
Thank you.
Thanks.
That was wonderful. I really appreciate it. You did so well. It was awesome. So I shall look forward to seeing your work and